Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here. You know, dreams are magnificent. Every human being shares in dreams. Usually, we dream mostly when we are young. Dream about the future, what the future holds and what it's going to be and your role in it, and how fantastic life is because you are in it. Dreams can fix it all. A lot of times people seek their dreams, most go after it. Very few can actually reach them. Some get close or not so close. And yet many people never reach their dreams. Can you imagine what that must be like to live a life and never reach your dreams? I used to think about when I was a kid, how we would go to church, especially me. I'm an old guy, an elder right now, but I was as a toddler raised by elders. So my education was old before I got old. And when I got old, I had old education. But it's okay with me because it brings me to where I am. And that too is all right with me because I like you. I spent a lot of times dreaming. I used to sit up and I would think about when these old folks would take me to church and we'd always be talking about learning about what's good, what's kind, and what's godly, and what's divine, and what to do and what not to do, how to be good Samaritan, how to help people, and how to reach out and always have a kind word, and how to always give glory to God, and how important we as individuals were, even though we weren't given any information about our position in our society at that time. The church didn't talk about that. The church didn't tell us, as we listened to the story about God, that we as black people were sitting in a station of slavery at the moment on that Sunday morning. No, they didn't say anything about that. So we went along as though everything was normal. That's the way things usually happen, to be accepted. But I would sit there and as I would grow older, I would think about how they would say things about God. And then I would think about the country, how we'd have the Pledge of Allegiance, how we talk about one nation under God, how we would always talk about that stuff. And I would think what we really relied on when it comes to God. When God says, no lying, no cheating, no all these things that we have attributed as being negative. And yet I would think that that's all we do as people. I mean, I'm thinking as a kid now. That's all we do. It's like it's a whole life is a con game. Not always, there's some legitimacy, there's nice conversation, there's straight up and straight down. But there's always con games everywhere, con games. You can look in a big city, you can see maybe a great big building, a big fine building, maybe a Trump Tower. Then over here you can see buildings. All of those buildings represent people who call themselves power hunger. Power hunger, that represents what people say is power. Aggressiveness. Go get it. And you think about how competitive it is in a dog-eat-dog world like that. I was thinking about once Donald Trump made a statement about how he felt about society at large. It's like it's just an open range. I'm paraphrasing now. Just an open range, and everybody come out there and you go get it. Whoever gets it gets it, and whoever don't. And it's what you call it. Whoever got the biggest hand, or it goes to the fittest, or whoever the strongest. And this might be true, but even though that is true, there are other responsibilities that comes with having those things. But that part they never talk about. Anyway, I used to sit up and I would think about, well, we got the CIA. I know we got the FBI. We got the FBI and the police and all those kinds of things. We know what the police really does. They say protect and serve, and we are trying to condition ourselves to believe that that is true, and yet we know how the police affect certain people. And so we have to keep that in the equation as we go along. Then you think about the military, and you think about aggressive situations that our country has found itself in, but we still can keep this thing associated with God. And in the Bible, it'll tell you about how God sent men out to go and do some damage, which I never believed that. I never believed that God sent anybody out. To me, those were those power hungry people out there trying to get something taken care of and put on with God. Anyway, I would say, like we got the CIA, and you say, well, now what the CIA is for? Well, now most people know that it's supposed to be taking care of investigations outside of our borders, so etc. But more than that, people understand that the CIA for the country, for national security, will lie, will cheat, will steal, and will kill. And so, as a youngster, I'm thinking to myself, that's the devil. I mean, we already got a country that doesn't work proper and will go to these extremes to maintain itself. To me, that was just the devil. And I could always see God allowing the world to continue to exist because the good people that's in it. But God isn't satisfied with good people in it. That's not the mission, to be good. No. I mean, that was my understanding at that time. So I'm thinking, in relationships to our understanding today of this God thing. And it is my growth, I call it growth, and understanding and respect for God that allows me in all of these situations that exist, whether it's carnal, whether it's spiritual, whether it's religion, whatever it is, it allows me to stand here and say the things that I do say to you, and I must say them to you because that's my purpose. In other words, it's the truth. It's the truth of my life, and so what I'm sharing with you is nothing but the truth. When I see preachers talking to you, and I understand why we as people who call themselves Christians don't do anything, is because you are not listening to men of God. You're not listening to men of God. You're listening to men who started out, perhaps, some of them, wanted to be men of God. They wanted power. Everybody that walking out there calls themselves a preacher, whether they know it or not. If they call themselves a preacher, walk around talking about a preacher, they want power. If they're just a genuine God-given preacher, God-called preacher, they don't have to say that. They do the work. But out there boasting. Now, the reason that we have this dumbness when it comes down to God is because, as I said, we don't have men who are people who are of God talking to you about God. Let me give you an example. Today we have the mega churches. They're crowded, packed out. That's why they call them mega. Thousands of people that congregate either physically or virtual. They pay their tithes, buy books. They do all of these kinds of things. And they do that because they are committed. Now, they are committed to something that's, when it comes down to God, that's phony, fake. Why do you think preachers ask you to pay your tithes, and if you want something from God, to plant seeds of whatever, $5 to $1 million, whatever you want to give, God gonna give it back depending upon where you are at? Why do you think they tell you that? For those of you who have studied Christianity or Catholicism days past, you know how the Catholics used to do that stuff, selling favors, selling heavenly favors. Okay, so that's basically what they're basically doing, selling heavenly favors, and they do that because they don't have the evidence. See, in the book, if you read it, what are one of the major signs of those who are led by God? They will lay hands on the sick and they will recover. Now, that is no lie. That is an absolute truth. But that's not happening. The preachers, those guys that's out there talking about this prosperity preaching, who they laying hands on and recovering? Nobody. Even the ones that's laying hands on people talking about recovering lying. So when they can't come to you talking to you about God and how much power they got talking to you about God when they lay hands on no sick person and that sick person stay sick, when that crippled person stay crippled, when they are hungry and there's nothing you can do about it but send them over to the soup line. Why? Because you ain't got that connection with God. So they come up with something that you can identify with. Because we all want to be protected. We all want our dreams to come true. We all want access to be able to do those things that allow us to do it. So the preacher does too. So he knows that about all the people. So he have you to give it to him, telling you that God is being blessed through this. This is how God, look at the jets that God has given him. These jets came out of your pocket. Look at the mansion that God has given them. Came out of your pocket. But he won't tell you that. He got you on your knees praying. And if he give him enough, he'll send you a little kickback, get you a little cut. And you go around saying, oh, what God has done for me. And you're tricking the people thinking God has blessed you. God didn't bless you. But now, what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to believe this. I'm just giving you what I have been given. You paying your money because the preacher is asking you that as a symbol that he has some connection with God, something that you can see, make you think that he has some connection with God. Your association with him make you think you got some association with God, and disassociate you from all the pain and suffering that's going around and call that people who do not have a relationship with God. Or the rich people, where you don't really talk about the rich because you want to be there too. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich. God wants you to have all you need, all you want, but there's a different way of doing it. So anyway, you're paying your money trying to buy God. You're not going to get God. You're not buying him. And if you ever think about I wrote something down there I wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, there's one thing I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave it out. I mentioned a moment ago about the CIA. How the CIA does all of those things that we say are evil. Now, I'm sure the devil tell you that those things are not evil. Those things are good. And those things are, Lucifer will tell you that because Lucifer is trying to protect you. But that's what they call a spiritual God, is trying to make you think opposite and trying to destroy you. Woo-wee. Boy, the thing gets rough sometimes. But this is what I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes down to living on this earth, to eliminate the lying and cheating and the pain and the suffering and all that kind of stuff, there's a way of doing the business on the earth of living. And that is very simple. I'm not going to explain it all, but the very simple thing is everybody work. Everybody got a career of their own choosing. And by so doing, you'll have joy in what you're doing. The resources are free. You will be getting a thrill out of what you're doing. And what you will be doing is meeting the needs, desires, and wants of all the people. Very simple as that. No more lying, cheating, stealing, and killing. No more power, hunger, nothing. All come from God through you to one another. Whew. That's how the world works. That's how the world of peace and prosperity and freedom and joy of life and your fulfilled dreams. That's how that works. You don't even have to talk about any of the other stuff, because all of that stuff out there is nothing but man seeking his own power, trying to be somebody and trying to make you be nothing. That's the only way he can be something, by making you be nothing. Now, so if the CIA, and I tell you that God does the things that I just got through saying to you, what does God do as far as the CIA, either lying and cheating to protect the nation? What does God do to protect those who are led by God's Spirit? Let me tell you what God does. God does whatever is required. God does whatever is required to protect those who are walking in the Spirit. You don't even have to ask for it. You don't have to pray for it. You just walk in the Spirit and take care of your business. God will protect you. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I can, and I'm not telling you some stuff I read about. I've been in prison where I felt like I can't even find the words to say, but how, oh man, I don't even know what, glorious, is that a word? In prison for standing up for what is right. So when you hear people talking about going to jail and you talking about I don't want to go to jail, that's because you still caught up in bondage. You're not free. A free person would love to go to prison if it means to stay free. A person who's in bondage would do anything to stay in bondage. Oh no. So I'm saying that to you. And I'm also saying to you one other thing. Based upon that same line. See, God doesn't work like people. People got their own little thing. They're trying to shape God to be like they are. Now, when you're doing walking in righteousness, that don't mean you're being perfect. Who gonna be perfect? We don't even know what it is. But when you're walking after righteousness, you don't even have to pray for God. God is always there protecting you. You don't need somebody lying, cheating, stealing. You don't need guns and bombs and stuff like that. You don't need missiles. That's for the demonic world, the world of evil, the world of Satan, the world without God. They are dependent upon all other stuff. Now, your position I'm talking so long. Your position as being a child of God here on this earth in these bodies is not to yield to these people who walk in according to the devil, but to lift up God in such a way that God is seen. And usually God is seen when being lifted up in resistance to the evilness of the world. Ain't no need to start talking about when Jesus did this and they did that. No, it's being lifting up righteousness in light of the evilness in the world that we live in. That's loving God. That's praising God. You can sing and dance all you want to in church. If that's all you doing, then nobody hear that, but maybe those people that watch you on TV or those people who are there with you. If you want God to hear you, baby, you got to take care of business. You got to show some love all around you. People got to see God. Let the light of God's love glow. That's when you're doing praising God. That other stuff ain't nothing but a trick. You lied to yourself. Is there anything else? I think I'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I think I made a point, and I'm hoping that you will go back and perhaps and review or view some of my other posts. And they will speak to the things that are so important in life as far as I have been given to share with you. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying, have a good day. Goodbye.